I'm really excited to be here, so thank you for the opportunity and thank you for showing up. Um, like she said, my name is Lovely, and I have a private practice off of 96 and L called Living Our Vision Every Day. But I've also done a lot of work in the community with like Nebraska Children's Home Society as a therapist there, working with parents and doing a lot of the parenting classes and just one-on-one services directly. I've also worked with the foster care system, just kind of offering support to foster kids and foster families and kind of helping them navigate through the system. So that's been kind of one of my fun experiences. And also I'm a Circle of Security, Circle of Security parenting facilitator. Has anybody heard of that? I'm going to weave that in here because I think that that is really important. It's all about connections and building relationships with people and kind of understanding behavior. So it's a parenting class, but it's also a class that applies to just understanding behaviors. So that's me, and I'm really excited to be here, and thank you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about emotional eating. But first, let's check in with you guys. I'd like to know who I'm talking to, what's the attitude and the temperature of the room. So what's your weather today? You can just call it out. How are you guys feeling today? What's your weather? We have
It's nice and warm and cozy in here.
Okay.
Partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy. Yeah, I'm a little partly cloudy. I had a little bit of sleep. We have any sunshiny days right now? No, the weather's a little too dreary for that.
I'm feeling a little anxious that I left one child in the hospital. I didn't look ahead, but I have to sleep.
Ah,
I'm a little guilty, but letting go of it.
you are forgiven and it's going to be okay.
That's all I need.
All right. So, when you guys think of emotional eating, what images or thoughts come to your mind?
Eating out of a bucket of ice cream.
Yes. Yeah. What else? I like interaction. So, please talk back. Hands in a chip bag, right? Do you have a visual? I always picture a plate of nachos in front of me, right? I didn't even realize that was my food until my husband and I were playing a game, like one of those newlywed games, and I said, "What's your wife's favorite food?" And he was like, "Nachos," and I was thinking, "Really?" And then I thought about it. I eat a lot of nachos. I was like, that kind of goes with what we're talking about later. So, so sometimes people, when you hear of emotional eaters or emotional eating, sometimes we picture the food. Sometimes we have this visualization in our head. And we think of something like this, right? Is that accurate or inaccurate? What do you think? Could be either. Okay, I like that. But did any of these images come to your mind? The reality is, emotional eating can hit any of us. And there's not a pretty little picture that describes it or that says this is what that looks like when it walks in our doors, right? It can be a little kid, it can be a teenager, and it doesn't matter what size they are, it's what's underneath, right? So let's talk about some of the risks that make people prone to emotional eating. What are some of the things that you guys think about?
I think of sadness,
Okay.
Loneliness.
sadness, loneliness, avoidance. Yes. So why am I here today? You guys got it. You're right. You're absolutely right. Some of the things that we're going to talk about 5 different areas that kind of make people a little bit higher at risk to tap into that emotional side of eating, okay? I gotta stand here. I got to remember that. Okay, so let's watch a little video and see if any of us can relate to this.
Cause I'm looking in the fridge, trying to figure out why I'm looking in the fridge.
Does that look familiar? How many of us have done that? If we're being honest. I have. Has anybody been like, I want to go see what's in the refrigerator? The reality is a lot of us do that, right? It's funny to watch here, but one of the things that leads a lot of times to that emotional eating is just not even being aware of what we're eating, that we're eating, how we're eating, right? So sometimes in our busy everyday lifestyle, it's easy for us to just grab anything, right? We're busy, we're running from here to there, taking our kids here, running this errand, and now, oh my goodness, did I eat? Nope. Let me go grab something. I don't feel like cooking. It's been a long day. Let me just grab something to eat. And then we're grabbing for anything and everything that's accessible to us, right? Someone mentioned the bag of chips, right? Can I make a confession? My daughter and I said, okay. She said, Mommy, I want to make cupcakes. I want to make brownies. I said, okay. So we went home and we made brownies. A pan of brownies. And I was working on my presentation as well. So, somehow in the night, after she went to sleep, I looked at the pan of brownies. And then I looked at my husband and I said, I'm really talking about mindlessly eating, and I just ate. I'm not going to tell you how much I ate. This much of the brownies is gone. And I'm thinking about it, right? Because I'm actually talking about it. But sometimes it's just that easy to just be like, you know what, I'm hungry, and we'll just go get just a little nibble or a little bag. And so this isn't about guilting, but just kind of creating more awareness of, let me focus on that a little bit, okay? Mindfulness, how many of you guys are familiar with mindfulness in general? Everybody. Okay, so we already know all the benefits, but I'm going to say them anyway. Some of them, and you guys can share some additional ones. We know that mindfulness is effective for stress relief, for learning self-control, for concentrating, to kind of regulate our emotions in general, to improve our memory, to get over that whole constant, rumination. And there's other health benefits. How many of us practice mindfulness? Show of hands. Those who do not, I would invite you to, even if it's just for a little bit. Mindfulness offers us a chance to slow down and just pay attention to what we're experiencing. So if we were to practice just a little bit of mindfulness here, we could do some breathing exercises, right? Let's do that real quick. Let's just do a couple, like the 4 or 5 deep breaths and just be in this moment. How does that feel for you? How does that feel for you? Did you feel a shift in your own self? Maybe you were a little bit anxious or a little bit just like, okay, had some feelings inside. And just for that moment, just stopping and taking a moment and saying, okay, let me be in this moment. Let me not worry about the next one or the one that just passed, but right here, right now. When we apply that to eating, it gets real creative. I like stories, so I'm going to tell you one. You guys okay with that? All right. If you're not, I'm sorry. So I just attended a mindfulness retreat. Did anyone else attend that? It was at Camp Joy Holling. Carol Joy Holling. Okay, it was a mindfulness retreat for mental health practitioners. I'm a talker. A lot of us are social workers or therapists, and we like to talk, right? We're social butterflies. So putting us in a space and saying, shh, it's really hard. So they sent out this flyer, and they said, here's what to expect. We're going to do lots of mindfulness practice, and we ask that you not talk to each other. Don't talk about cases. Okay, I'm good with that. Don't talk to each other. Just be there. I was like, wow. I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit nervous. Am I gonna be able to make it for 8 hours without saying anything to anybody? You know how hard that is? Would anybody else struggle with? Don't leave me up here by myself. That was hard. But you know what? We did a lot of meditation. We did a lot of just kind of analyzing stuff and just kind of being there. So for the most part, I tried. Here was the challenging part. They wanted us to sit together at tables and eat in silence. Does that work for anybody else? Would it be a struggle for anybody else? Some people are like, I love that idea. Well, it was hard for me, but I tried it. I did it-ish. I did it most of the way. It was funny because some of us I hadn't seen for a long time, they ran over and they're like, okay. We were like, hey. And they were like, oh, you can't talk. They had this little saying or poem or prayer that they had at the table, and the format was that you walked up to the table and you stood there and you waited for it to fill up. So I think it was about 10 seats. So you had to wait for everyone to sit there to arrive. You look at each other, smile, and you say this blessing together. And you sit in silence and you eat. But we did it. You know what happens? You're paying attention to what you're eating. You are not just eating and talking and socializing. You're paying attention to nourish your body. In the poem, it was talking about appreciating where all of these things came from, etc. So you're actually thinking about it. It brings you to the now. Now, if you're an emotional eater, practicing mindfulness might have some extra benefits. One, you're paying attention to the texture and the taste and the color and all of those things of your food. You're probably going to get a little tired of chewing because you're going to be paying attention to what it feels like in your mouth. You're going to be paying attention to all the flavors bursting, and you're probably not going to need to do that as long or for the same level of volume that you would if you were doing mindlessly. Something to think about. What do you guys think about that?
I know on so many, I hate to call them weight loss programs, but eating healthier, they always focus in on being mindful and eating slower, paying attention to what you eat, don't watch TV while you're eating.
Yeah.
All those things are just being more mindful.
Yeah. It's it's said to decrease the amount and to help you kind of regulate your emotions as well. So that's kind of a double benefit if you can do it. To just being aware, or just even saying, "Oh, wait, I have eaten half the pan of brownies. Stop. You're not enjoying them. But if I was taking a moment and enjoying the moistness and the color and the richness and then it's more of a delicacy. It's more of a nice experience. I'm there. I'm experiencing it. That's what it's all about. I'm actually paying attention to the experience that I'm having. On a side note, mindfulness in general, in practice, as I was reading, for practitioners who use it themselves, it's beneficial dually between the practitioner and the client. I thought that was kind of cool. So, something to think about. So one of the other things that came up as one of the reasons that people kind of are emotional eaters is food might be the only thing they use to reward themselves, right? You got a promotion at work. What are you going to do? We're going to go out and we're going to celebrate. You graduated from this. What are we going to do? We're going out and we're going to celebrate. You got a great grade. You get to pick your favorite restaurant. Does that sound familiar to us, right? So one of the things that as professionals we can do is to be aware of that and to kind of challenge that. What are some other things that you guys could offer people to find a variety of ways to reward yourself? How are some ways that you guys reward yourselves?
Maybe go bowling or something.
Yeah, go bowling, be active. I like a good massage. What are some other things? Get your nails done, get your feet done. You could even make yourself a healthy meal if you're being mindful. But that doesn't work for this example. But that would be, if you felt like you had to celebrate, but you were being conscious and aware of what you were eating and you were practicing, we might let that slide. But there's a lot of different things you could go dancing, just kind of helping people and ourselves think of a variety of ways that we can celebrate accomplishments. Another thing that makes people that may be a trigger to emotional eating is handling tough emotions. Life can be tough, right? You guys see there's all kinds of traumas that bring people in and out of the hospital, okay? It's full of emotions and opportunities to figure out how to respond to a variety of situations and moods, okay? If an individual has not identified healthy ways to identify and process their emotions, they may try to hide behind them or stuff them or eat them away, okay? Why would people do this? Why would people do this? They don't have other alternatives. I'm sorry. They may not be familiar with other alternatives. So I'm a therapist, and when I first started trying to figure out what my style was, I realized I liked whiteboards in my room, in my office. And so I would get whiteboards, and then I was like, people don't do feelings. So when you walked in my office, I would say, write down on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel, and write down your emotions. And people would be like, I don't know how I feel. We'll figure it out, and then we'll start. Over time, it started really helping people get in touch with what they were feeling when they walked in the door, because we don't do that. A lot of times we're just going mindlessly, right? We're not tapping into how we feel physically. We're not tapping into what's going on inside. We may come to therapy, vent, say whatever we want to say, right? But sometimes it's important to just slow down and say, sweetie, what's going on really? How are you feeling really? Now, I mentioned to you guys earlier that I teach Circle of Security, okay? Circle of Security is a map, if you will, of how to meet people's needs around this circle. And it says, go out and support people in their exploration and learn how to welcome them back in. Well, on the welcome them back in portion of the circle, there's a need called organize. Organize my feelings. Okay? I've taught this for 4 years, and the most pressing observation? People don't know what feelings are. Do you guys realize that? People don't know what feelings are. It's a foreign language to us, especially if you're my age or older. Because I know my generation, in my house, and a lot of the people that I work with, feelings did not have the level of importance in that generation that they do now. So to have someone actually identify, accept, and acknowledge their feelings is a struggle. But it's so important, because just because we ignore them or pretend like they don't exist doesn't mean they're not affecting us. It means we're going to hide them, or we're going to find some alternative way to cope or to deal with, right? So, a healthy alternative to teaching, to helping people handle their tough emotions are A, teaching them what emotions are, helping them to connect to their emotions and be able to identify their own emotions and the emotions of other people that they interact with, and then learn a variety of coping skills that they can use to both handle their emotions and express them. And of course, having safe spaces to talk about them or to work through them. Okay? Any questions on that? That makes sense? So this is kind of an example of a chart I might have in my office. This is, okay, what are you feeling? And then they'd have to go in and they pick. The one I couldn't find the one that's actually in my office, but it's like a million feelings. And it's so fun to watch people go from, I'm mad, to a few months later, I was feeling aggressive, but I decided that instead of just throwing a temper tantrum, I would go journal, or I would go, to see that transition, to have them connect with themselves and their emotions and learn alternative ways to deal with that. It's been a really powerful journey for a lot of people. Negative body image is another thing that can contribute to emotional eating. A negative self-image can increase the pattern of emotional eating. Obviously, if you feel bad about yourself and then you see negative stereotypes, or you see negative images in the media, it's going to trigger a little bit more, and you might go out and grab that box of cookies to make you feel a little bit better, or the box of donuts or whatever. So if you already have a predisposition to feel badly, any other thing might take you back to the kitchen, back to the refrigerator to kind of go soothe that and calm that down. So the counter to that is to build that self-esteem back up. Hey, let's deal with those feelings. Why are you feeling like this? Let's deal with those things, and let's get you either some motivation to maybe address the issues that underlie that body image, or maybe some motivations to help you change that behavior. Okay, but let's challenge some of the things that are going on underneath that body image. And how about this? I'm going to tell you guys another story. I was preparing for this, and I wanted to do like a fun little survey for you guys. So I decided to take one of my own. And I went online, and it was called TooMuchOnHerPlate.com. I invite you guys to go and do your own little survey if this is something, actually just for the fun of it. TooMuchOnHerPlate.com. They have this assessment, and it says, what are you hungry for? And it's not food. And I thought, all right, let me see what they're going to say, all right? So I did the little assessment, had no idea what they were going to come back with, and it goes, you are hungry for rest. I said, what? You know, they were right on the money. I had a little 3-year-old at home who doesn't like to sleep, and I'm always running around and trying to do this and trying to do that. And so the reality is, yes, I am hungry for rest. But what it linked it to is, okay, because you're tired, you're going to be more prone to grab what's convenient. To our point, when we're physically overwhelmed, whether that's under lots of stress, whether that's we're just too busy and we haven't eaten, whether we are just sleepy for one reason or another, our bodies are going to go, feed me. And we're not going to be looking for the mindless or the mindful alternative. We're going for whatever's there, right? So I'm not going to say meal prep because we have to do whatever's realistic for us, right? And help our clients or our patients do whatever's realistic for them. But kind of have a plan. Okay, I know I'm going to be running around today, so maybe I should put an extra piece of fruit in my bag, right? Or maybe I should put some granola bars and some, whatever it is that is you're going to have access to that you can kind of plan ahead and be in control of what it is that you're putting in your body. So when we're physically overwhelmed, those are also times that we can see a little struggle. Now, most of us already understand a lot of times, minus the physically overwhelmed, a lot of times trauma is the basis for a lot of the eating patterns that have been formed over life. These are the 5 main domains, but you can see trauma written through all of them, right? Can you see that? Do I need to? Can you guys kind of see trauma in all of these? If you've had a lot of trauma and you don't want to pay attention to what's going on right now, because maybe you need to disassociate, you need to be not here because it's painful to be right here. So you get used to doing whatever you may have to do to avoid and to not pay attention, and then that may leave you going down this pattern. Does that make sense? If you've taught yourself to satisfy yourself through whatever it is that you're experiencing traumatically by food, because that was what was accessible to you, you can see the link. It just kind of weaves in there. So I didn't do a major trauma, but when we're trauma focused, then we can see it. It's in there. I can't remember that commercial. Remember when we were little and there was a commercial? It was like, "Where's the beef?" It's in there, right? You guys remember that commercial? Where's the beef? It's in there, right? It's in there. Trauma is kind of like that underlying foundation of a lot of this. Okay, so if you are dealing with abuse, if you're dealing with mental and emotional stress and neglect, you're going to struggle with these same 5 domains. Okay, so how do we offer support? We offer support by being empathetic. Understanding, yes, there's more than what you see. There's typically more than meets the eye. Not that you're going to get it in a day or two, but to just be aware that there's more to whatever you're looking at than what you see right there. And to be empathetic, put yourself in their shoes, be empathetic to whatever it is that they're experiencing. Maybe you have a maybe you have a patient who's really struggling and you're just like, why are they doing that? Everybody ever have that patient? Why do they do that? Y'all are too nice, right? You're right. You guys are amazing. But everybody has run into someone where they just cannot understand why they continuously behave the way they're behaving. And that's where I would challenge you to rise above that and say, there's got to be a reason. People don't just do things for no reason at all. So challenge yourself to be empathetic in spite of what you see, right? And try being non-judgmental. I know it's easier said than done, but it matters. If we're trying to lead people toward healing, or even to wanting to heal, they may get there faster if they're not feeling judged for whatever they already probably have some shame attached to anyway. Right? So just being there and being like, hey, I get it, I understand. This might be beneficial. Not you ought to do this, but have you ever considered or hear some things that some people have found helpful? To just be non-judgmental. And also be prepared for people to push back a little bit. Just because you have a bright idea does not mean they want to hear it, right? Y'all falling asleep on me? Okay. Just because we have a great idea doesn't mean they're ready to receive that. It doesn't mean it's invaluable. It means give them some space and just be prepared. Maybe you come back again in a little bit. Maybe you come a different route, right? But just being prepared for that. And when you're prepared for it, it helps you not take it personal, right? If you say, if they would just quit eating all those donuts, they wouldn't be in the hospital right now. Well, remember, and there's a reason for whatever their behavior is. And you saying that probably isn't going to make them feel better or be more willing to listen to what you have to say, right? But maybe offering them some empathy and maybe collaborating with them and saying, what do you think might be beneficial for you? what is there anything I can do to help you, right? Sometimes I just want an encouraging word or some tools, but just kind of if you open the door and let them do it. You can always refer out to, yes, sir.
I just wanted to comment on the thing.
Yes.
I think there's a thing in our hospital culture, which is a statement like, due to the bad choices they've made, they're in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a legitimate statement, but I think if it's there by itself, it's not very helpful, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help the person. But to have something other than that, you know, that's a good.
If a client's never seen that, that's like foreign territory for them. You know what I mean? So that's where that empathy comes in. I'm glad you brought that up. That's where that empathy comes in. Like, see it from their point of view, not just yours. Makes sense? If you don't know what their point of view is, sometimes people will tell you, if you ask them, not judgmentally. You know, you're not like, why you? But if you're like, hey, you know, how did you know what brought you to this point? Or how'd you get here? What's your story, man? That's not a judgment. That says, I'm actually interested in knowing. I don't mean any harm. I'm just curious, you know? I don't know and I don't want to make any assumptions. Can you help me understand? That opens the door for them to know that you care, for you to gather additional information and insight that will make whatever things you're able to offer them or to share with them more helpful, and then maybe less defensive to where receiving it. Is that helpful? Okay. Be encouraging and there's plenty of us out there who would just love to see your clients. So, you know, when you know you have some short range stuff and you want to refer to a mental health provider that you know will meet their needs, then have a few of those accessible. So you can say, hey, I'll refer this out. Any thoughts on that? Any additional supports you guys can think of?
I've referred to like dietitian or nutritionist to kind of help them meet the full needs of if I, you know, if that with a understanding of like how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. I'll just briefly talk a little bit. These are just some therapeutic interventions available. EMDR, who is not familiar with that? Everybody's. Okay. EMDR is eye movement desensitization. You can read that. EMDR is a process, I like to explain it like this. When you are, everybody's been mad at something before, right? I like to say if you were on a scale from 0 to 10, but you were actually like a 15 about something that happened, you were like, ugh, and then you go to sleep, and you get good sleep. Not a nap, but you actually hit that REM sleep, and you get up, and what was a 15 when you went to bed, it's now like a 2. You can look at whatever that event was, and it's not that bad. It doesn't really bother you anymore. The brain naturally processes things and kind of goes in and does a sweep through and cleans up some stuff, so it's not so traumatic for you. EMDR activates that for clients. and allows them to swiftly go through different thoughts that they have of themselves and bring healing to those things. So it can have a really dynamic effect in that it allows their thought processes to change, their behaviors to change, their self-esteem. You know, it can target amazing areas and see very quick results. It's amazing. Love it. Dialectical behavioral therapy is, or DBT, is more of a behavioral therapy, and it kind of lets you look at both sides of the coin and just kind of bring some balance between like your emotions and your thoughts, and then find a happy medium and a new way of behaving. So it kind of brings you in tune to both sides and helps you adjust behaviors in that way. CBT kind of lets you go, where did this thought originate from? And now let me challenge it and let me work through all of these things and to get to a different type of behavior. And trauma focus is similar. That's more for kids, but it's similar, but it brings in that trauma. It has more focus on the trauma dynamic. There's a lot more, but any questions on any of those? Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and your interaction. Hope it was helpful.